We're talking handcuffs heading into 2021. Who do you handcuff? When do you handcuff? Does every running back you own deserve to have a handcuff sitting on the bench? No. But a lot of people are very opinionated on this topic, and they say things like, Smitty, you shouldn't be handcuffing anyone because you can get a viable starter or contributor versus grabbing a guy that requires an injury in order to get into the lineup. Look, there's some truth to that, but there's two sides to this coin. But the divide is right where I see Pollard and Mattison versus the other guy. I see them as league winners. I see them as guys that if they get in there, they're producing top 5 to 10 running backs. The people against Pollard, Mattison, Dillon, and Murray sitting on your bench, they don't feel that way. So there's no point in even having a debate or conversation with somebody if they don't view these guys as win a league talents like I do or like we do. There are a couple other running backs that we need to talk about that kind of are on that line. And then there's a whole bunch of other running backs that don't deserve to be handcuffed or even drafted. This notion that handcuffing's bad in general is a blanket statement. You know how I feel about blanket statements.
Take a lap.
You know my current rant of the week is context, context, context. I live with 3 girls and I don't know where this hair is. It's right. Oh, there it is. God, they're all over me. They're embedded in my clothes. I have these long hairs everywhere from all the females infesting my home. Where were we? Handcuffs, baby. I'm going to break down what I coined in the industry several years ago, a decade and a half ago. Super handcuff. What is a super handcuff? What does it mean? Who are super handcuffs? How do you become a super handcuff? Can you apply to be a super handcuff, or are you born a super handcuff? I'm breaking all that down and more. The Fantasy Football Show begins now.
This is the Fantasy Football Show with your host, Smitty.
Top 5 running back. You're watching the Fantasy Football Show. Smitty.
Take a lap.
And also, I have a link down below for Underdog Fantasy. If you want to play Underdog Fantasy and you want to get your DFS on in 2021, go down below and click on the link. Use promo code Smitty and get a $25 bonus by being a new Underdog Fantasy user and using promo code Smitty. And you get a free phone call from me. Use it before your draft. Use it now. Use it whenever. All you got to do is send me a screenshot of you doing this. Get your phone call. Go down there. Do it. Super handcuff. What is it? What's it mean? Smitty, you talk about it a lot. Some of my haters say, you didn't make up super handcuff. Yeah, I did. I've created a ton of things in my fantasy football career. The instant trade calculator. This man right here, which you can find at sleeperu.com, my content site, which has year-round rankings, you name it. In fact, the trade calculator is why I got into the industry 19 years ago to begin with. Back in 2002, 2003, 2004, nobody had tools that were instant-based, where you could just select a player in a drop-down list, select another player in another drop-down list, and have the system tell you, should you make this trade, yes or no? Super handcuffs are something I coined many, many years ago. And this is how I define super handcuff. A player that your grandma sees as a simple backup running back. However, this player has top 5 to 10 running back potential if getting starter volume. They oftentimes, but not always, back up an elite top 10 running back. Hence why the production will be there if inserted into the lineup. Super handcuff is literally Tony Pollard, Alexander Mattison. Aaron Jones goes down. A.J. Dillon season arrives. A.J. Dillon enters the chat. Alvin Kamara goes down. Lat Murray. How does anybody look at one of these running backs right here and say, man, I'm not drafting them because it takes an injury for them to get into the lineup? However, take a look at the ADPs of Lat Murray, 10th round. Tony Pollard, 10.02. And I know that's correct because he just went in the throne draft in round 10, and I've been vying for him in round 9. I want him in all my leagues because if he doesn't work out, if any of these guys don't work out, look at Mattison at 10.12. I'll talk about Trey Sermon at 10.08 in a minute. If these guys don't land right here, nothing happens to you. You don't lose your league. You can put all your eggs in one basket in this situation I often tell you not to draft the same guy in multiple leagues because if they go down, it can take out every one of your leagues at once. Not the case with a 10th round pick. If one of these guys don't land in round 9 or 10, nothing bad happens to you. However, if Pollard or Mattison or Murray or Trey Sermon, who I'm going to talk about in a minute, who doesn't quite qualify, and I'll tell you why in a minute, but if any one of these guys gets even 4 or 3 or 5 or 6 starts, you can win your league. And if Bob from accounting or the fantasy football Karen saying, Smitty, I still would rather have a viable starter than a player that requires an injury before they can become valuable and usable. Who here, besides the guys I'm talking about, are worth taking to the point where you're gonna pass up on a player that, yeah, he may need an injury, but he wins you a league if there is an injury at a position where Kamara, Cook, Elliott, one of them's bound to go down. I hate to say it, but injury's going to strike one of those guys for a string of games at a bare minimum. Who you liking, Bill? Or Fantasy Karen? I like AB. I like Chenault. They're good options. Tannehill, Matt Ryan, Gus Edwards, Cohen, Corey Davis, Phillip Lindsay, Cole Beasley, Jamal Williams. Nothing here is going to make me regret going Tony Pollard or Alexander Mattison or Lat Murray or Trey Sermon. I'll be okay if I don't draft one of these guys and I go with a sleeping giant league winner. Now, I know some of you are going to go, but Smitty, I don't really believe that Mattison would produce Dalvin Cook numbers if he gets into the lineup. Well, then that's where we disagree, and that's fine. You can skip this video, head to the next one, because I'm telling you, AJ Dillon, Mattison, Pollard, Murray all have a situation that's giving their starters top 5 to 10 running back volume. In the case of Elliott, top 5, top 6 volume. Maybe there's a step down if Pollard gets into the lineup, but I don't know that I feel that way. I love Pollard. Pollard's one of the most underrated elusive running backs in the league, and he looked good in spots last year when Zeke didn't. Pollard could get used a lot in 2021 to keep Zeke healthy, and if Elliott goes down, boom, Pollard is going to be on fire. Mattison had one game last year where he didn't do well, then he did well in, I believe, week 17, where he had 2 touchdowns. People are mixed on him, but I see a guy that when I'm far away from the TV and I can't really see the numbers of the players, I'm getting my wings, I'm eating my pizza, and I'm like, look at Dalvin Cook punch it through that A gap. Wait a minute.
That's Alexander Mattison.
Mattison looks good. I don't care what he did in the 1 week that he started last year where he didn't do well. He looks good. My eyeballs don't lie. And my eyeballs are telling me and telling you that Mattison can be a top 5 to 10 running back per start. Maybe he's a little step down from Cook. But no one's expecting him to start 17 games. We're thinking maybe, Cook goes down in week 10 and he starts 11 through 17. Starting 11 through 17, you're getting top 6 to 10 fantasy football running back numbers. Pollard, same thing. Dillon, same thing. Murray, we don't know if Murray still has enough left in the tank. We'll see, but he's worth grabbing standalone, and he's definitely worth handcuffing to Kamara. Which brings me to, I guess, the whole point of this video. When do you handcuff? If you own any one of the starters here, Elliott, Cook, Aaron Jones, Kamara, you have to draft the backup. You have to reach an entire round. I just showed you the ADP, so round 10. You must take these guys in round 9. If you don't take these guys in round 9 and you wait and you go, Smitty, I thought I was gonna get him in round 10. I waited because I wanted Curtis Samuel. Smitty, I tried to go for Devonta Parker. You're gonna be mad at me. I didn't get Mattison. Don't do it. I want you to take your hand and slap yourself in the face so you remember this. Draft these guys a round earlier. When you become a knight, they literally go like this. They go around your head and then they slap you across the face so you remember your oath. That's what I'm doing here for you. So you remember. 9th round. Don't forget. Don't DM me later or email me later or comment in my video later. Smitty, I forgot to go around early. You have to. If you own the duo, Zeke and Pollard, no one can touch you at your running back 1. Same thing with Cook and Mattison, same thing with Dillon and Aaron Jones, and probably the same thing with Murray and Kamara. And if you don't own one of these guys, make sure You laser lock on these guys, standalone value, be the guy that drafts the handcuff to the guy who drafts the starter, trade them later to the owner of the starter if you could hold it over their head. But don't make that your objective. Even when they come knocking and they say, hey, the Zeke owner goes, hey, I see you got Pollard, you little rascal. Why don't you trade him to me for this nobody? You say, no, Philip, I'm not trading you Pollard no matter who you offer me. I think Pollard's taking me to the promised land. Then they're gonna laugh and go,
I'm not gonna give you anything big for Pollard.
I just thought I'd come asking. Walk away like buying a car and you leave the dealership. They'll be back. And if they're not, you didn't want to trade them anyway, because I'm telling you, these are league winners you wait on. So to address the old Smitty, you just like handcuffing anybody, don't you? No, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, they don't have handcuffs that are worth grabbing or rostering. Not every running back needs to be handcuffed. So when I say these are league winners and somebody takes a little piece of my content and then goes, Smitty likes to handcuff everybody, they aren't looking at the details or the context. I'm telling you, there are 4 elite handcuffs right here. Chuba Hubbard might be another one you need to grab. If you own CMC, you have to grab him. I don't know quite yet if I feel like he'll get the run that Mattison or Pollard would get if McCaffrey went down. I think he would, and I love Chuba Hubbard. So I'm going to go ahead and say grab him kind of like right under these guys, maybe a tier break. Normally I don't do tier breaks for super handcuffs. You either qualify or you don't. You're either born in it, molded by it. Other backups merely adapted to the dark. These guys were
born in it, molded by it.
And Trey Sermon is somewhere in between. We can't really put him over here because he's not really a handcuff, but I don't think people really know that. Trey Sermon's ADP can range from like 8 to like 14 in terms of rounds. So whether somebody drafts him as a crafty late running back snag or treat him like he's not even draftable because they see Mostert and a bunch of other running backs and then Trey Sermon. A lot of it depends on who's in your league. If it's grandma, Uncle Bud, Uncle Buck, Bill from accounting, Bob from accounting, Philip, because Trey Sermon is every bit as capable of exploding as these guys right here. And Javonte Williams doesn't qualify because he's technically, I believe, the starter. But if for whatever reason your league deems him as a backup, then throw him on the list, baby. So Hubbard at the bottom of this list. Sermon, if he applies in your league, is 100% on this list, but a standalone win a league player all in his own right. Make sure you cuff Sermon to Elijah Mitchell, the other rookie running back. I think the duo needs to be cuffed together because I believe there'll be 6-7 starts coming out of that duo. There you have it. Super handcuffs. Now you know. Go get them. Let your league mates make fun of you and say, oh, he's got a bunch of running backs that are not even applicable to modern day fantasy football. And yet you'll have a running back store with players that are increasing in value like Bitcoin and Dogecoin on their upswings, of course. Catch me every single Tuesday and Thursday here on the Fantasy Football Show, 5 p.m. Eastern to 7 p.m. every single Tuesday and Thursday. Get my HeySmitty.com right here if you want to text with me one-on-one. Order it right here. I'll help you cook up trades. I'll help you with everything. Lineup advice, waiver wire stuff, you name it. HeySmitty.com. All my content can be found at Smitty1.com. Smitty, the number 1.com, which you can kind of see right behind me there. Smitty1.com. And also, I have a link down below for Underdog Fantasy. If you want to play Underdog Fantasy and you want to get your DFS on in 2021, go down below and click on the link. Use promo code Smitty and get a $25 bonus by being a new Underdog Fantasy user and using promo code Smitty. Go down there. Do it.
This is the Fantasy Football Show with your host, Smitty.
Top 5 running back. You're watching the Fantasy Football Show. Smitty.